What's up, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. This is the Rob Cruz podcast, aka Transcending Sport. My guest is Neil McConnell. He is the CEO and founder of MaxBP, which is a phenomenal device. It's more than a device. I want to explain, before I even bring you in, I just want to give people a little bit of context and why this is exciting for me to have you on. So I have tons of guests on. I always like to have people that are doing something special and unique in the sports world that transcends the sport itself. And I always saw this product, like in different ads, I've seen it in different places, and I'm like, man, and I kept watching, and I'm like, I know how I would use that. So when you guys reached out to me and was like, hey, I was like, yes, please send me one. I've been dying to get it. But I said, I don't have time, but I actually it forced me to make time for it. And now I got it. Now I'm incorporating into what I'm doing, and I got to continue to incorporate. The kids love it. I love it. And I can see the differences in how they're getting. We're trying to teach them how to kind of lock in and make more focus. So without me taking over the show, Neil, welcome to the podcast.
Awesome. Yeah. Happy to be here. Excited to really dive into a lot of the stuff you've been doing the last 25 years. So it's impressive and pretty cool too that we have sort of similar background, graduated high school year apart, just found out, and amazing we didn't cross paths back in our New York days. Right? So maybe we played against each other back in the day.
We probably did. You never know. You never know.
Yeah. County tournaments.
Yeah. So what team did you play for though back then in travel ball?
I played for the Saints, was the travel ball org out of Huntington. And I played for Walt Whitman High School.
Okay.
And there was a local org, Tri-Village, that produced all-star team. Back then, the travel ball, there was one travel ball.
So tell me a little bit about your background. Tell me a little bit about you and how you got in. Because I'm always intrigued to know how somebody gets to the point where they master the business of sports. Because there's sport, there's business, but not everybody's able to really successfully blend the two, business and sports. I'm always intrigued to hear like how and why.
Yeah, it's tough. This is an insanely difficult space, and anybody that's been to ABCA can walk around and they'll see there's hundreds of people that have some great ideas or training tools that they implemented or built themselves and decide to put into a business. In my case, I've been running companies for over 20 years. I came out of school, got into financial services, was trained by Merrill Lynch on how to sell, and really they taught their guys how to build a business. So I look back to that as the best training I ever received in terms of whether it's closing a deals or prospecting or help building the staff. Yeah. So they didn't look at each guy as an individual employee, but how are you building your business? And so from there, I had a few baseball players as clients then, and my dream was to work with baseball players, just my love of the game and kind of mixing two things. That I eventually I moved from Phoenix to Los Angeles, trying to develop relationships with the agents. That didn't work out as well as I'd hoped. I was young. The agents wanted control of everything. I ran out of money. So I fell back. Fortunately, I was in LA. There's like endless jobs. So I fell into software and technology. I had a strong math background and kind of endless jobs in that world. And so that led me to working in the software world for mostly SAP projects. And so that then, with my business sense, led me to some guys. We formed a small software company. There were four of us that owned the majority of the company, and we did pretty well, but not well enough to, I jokingly say, I live in California, I have 5 kids. I could have retired if I didn't have either one of those. I had both. Anyhow, but on the side, I was still playing baseball in LA. I moved to San Diego, was playing men's league ball, and the men's league ball there was competitive to the point where we had a guy that had just come off the Colorado Rockies major league roster. We had a guy off the AAA Giants roster after he retired. We had a guy end of season Pirates AA. And so there was some talent and a lot of guys that just gave up the game for whatever reason. I had a couple guys that played for UCLA on my team, a couple Point Loma guys. But long story short, we go and play the game. and I just wouldn't have the bat I wanted to have. I'm like, well, normally I'd go out and get some work in the middle of the week or one game a week. And so guy that I was playing with, we were searching for solutions. We bought a ATEC two-wheel, the ATEC machine, throwing 90, 100 miles an hour. Ended up, we had nowhere to set it up. I couldn't even set it up at the high school where I'd volunteered the prior 3 years as an assistant coach. The liability reasons, the whole lawyer stuff. So so anyway, we found some other small ball, other tools, and we came across what is the predecessor to the MaxBP. And a guy had, so-called built a better mousetrap. So he was building something. He knew nothing about baseball, but was trying to help his grandkids out, and built a very, very early generation of the MaxBP. And then so mixed with me in the baseball world, fast forward, I exited software and, still had to work. I got 5 kids, and, one thing after so the interesting thing is I went from a software world where we had very large deals and a few number of customers to this world where we have very small in terms of revenue to many, many customers. And so there's a variety of hurdles that we've had over the years. But we've successfully conquered them all. Right. So it's been a little over 15 years now, and it's been an awesome journey. So each next big step. But I will say, and now one of the things that gives me most pleasure is when guys are entering the space or they've been in the space for a year or two, really helping them out, help them point to, where they're going to spend their money, where they're going to focus. If they're launching a product, helping them understand what the cost of that product might be, where to source parts. Mm-hmm. We source parts from, like most companies internationally, but we build and assemble and test here in the US. And so, in fact, even like the wheels, we hand mold, we mix and pour and hand mold and fine tune those wheels here in the US. And so, really proud of that as well.
That's pretty awesome. As you're talking, I'm thinking like, okay, in the beginning of your process, you obviously you set out to solve a problem, right? So, like most companies, okay, somebody has a problem. How do we solve it? And then eventually, how do we become the best at solving that problem? And how do we become a more unique choice? Because for me, as an instructor in the private sector, who pretty much travels a lot and brings I bring my expertise to people sometimes. Having something like MaxBP helps me because it's smaller. Yet it solves the problem. It's effective. You don't have a lot of balls flying around the places somebody can get hurt by getting hit by a ball. That helps me too. I can work with it in a small space. I can set it up as a station. I can set it up as the feature of a presentation. So I'm a big believer in being able to be mobile and take the quote unquote act on the road.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. And that's exactly it. And I kind of glazed over it before, but really for us, it was the velocity training. Yep. So, and that goes back to when I was a kid. The best I could do when I was a kid, I remember we go to the cage and you would just get closer and closer to the machine. And in those old arced batting cages, remember those? You get close to the machine, you're actually out where you're potentially getting hit. So you need to go when it's not too crowded.
Yeah, you're right.
So, so at the end of the day, so getting velocity training, getting the reps, getting the, and it's lower fatigue. So that's one of the things people, once they're using it, they realize they're like, wow, I can take 200 swings on this where I could take 100 on the other before I'm fatigued. Right. And so, and then all the drills taking the bat out of the hand. So breaking down parts of the swing. So it really became so much more than we initially thought. For us, it was solving the problem of getting velocity work, so that we could personally, and then through my professional relationships, I was able to kind of vet it at the major league level. So as we were deciding to turn this into a company, we had like San Francisco Giants had it through their 3 World Series, countless other stories, colleges and so forth. And so, but as we, started hearing guys at the major league level, hey, I want this. Like our first major leaguer was, that I know of, is Raul Ibanez. So he was about to buy that tennis ball machine, cost $12,000, $14,000, requires an operator, requires big space. has various issues, my understanding of jamming and other stuff. And anyway, he had seen our machine and, was like, oh my gosh, this is going to get me the reps that I need. He eventually bought 3 machines, had one at his house in Seattle, traveled with one and left one at the stadium. And so, and then when he eventually retired, he left his Angels one there for the Angels. And I forget who ended up with it, but called us for a tune-up on it at one point. But
that's pretty cool.
But yeah,
so for me, and my whole philosophy and approach to developing hitters, I have just recently in the last couple of years started a hitting certification program where I'm certifying hitting coaches throughout the country. I have different types of hitting coaches that some are college coaches, some are hitters and coaches in the private sector, some are facility owners, some are travel team coaches, and some are just moms and dads who want to help their kids. And they want to do it right. And then so a big part of our curriculum is the vision part, the perceptual part, the sensory part of hitting, which a lot of people try and teach separately as something separate from the actual process of hitting. But what I love about having a device like this, and this is what excites me about it the most, is I can combine perception, action, decision-making, tracking, focus, pitch recognition with one machine, work with various speeds, get really good movement, right? Yeah. And the bat is in the kid's hands. You can't beat that. So for me, I'm like, let's go. So like I said, I'm fired up, excited about it. We've been, last couple of weeks, I've been really, really incorporating it into, and sometimes you have those hitters that just need to learn how to track, and need to just work on focus and being locked in, and being able to, what we call in the vision world, fixate. Because a lot of kids get visually distracted. And their brain can wander for some reason. But these kind of help you. Because the balls are so small, too, you have to really lock in a little bit differently than you would a bigger ball. So that also helps, too. So that's the thing for me that really makes it like it fits into what my philosophies are. And
love it. And to add on to that, it's something you can now have. The kids can now take home and use at home and get the reps in between. Because they talk about the kids. You really want to get good. Are you just doing the reps in practice or with coach? What else are you doing? Are you getting up early? Or it's the whole Kobe Bryant talked about getting up at 4 a.m. and his first workout, rest, next workout, and all this. And so he's the extreme, but some variation on that. Like, are you getting extra reps outside of your normal practices? And so a tool like this allows people to do that.
And also, what I found too, what I noticed, it takes it back to the backyard again.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's like, I got to go rent a cage. I got to go to the facility. I'm in the facility. But whatever happened to the backyard? Whatever happened to the driveway? Hitting in the driveway? Whatever happened to even the basement? You know what I mean? Like, it takes it. Yeah. It's you could even bring it to the cage if you wanted to. If you wanted to bring it to the cage, you could. But you could just say, hey, you know what? We're going to go out. So we're going to go out in the yard, 10 a.m. Me and my siblings, me and my cousins, me and my mom, me and my dad, whoever. And I'm just going to get some reps. I'm just going to get some reps and have some fun and try to hit it over the bushes.
Yep. Man, like a million memories flash through my head there. Like, I remember, as kids, every time we drive around, you pass parents driving around, you're like, oh, that'd make a great field for wiffle ball or whatever. Or in the basement, we didn't have machines we could use in the basement, but I was a huge Don Mattingly fan growing up, and he was the first guy that he was a huge tee advocate. I get my tee work every day. And we had this mattress set up in the basement, and we would hit, mattress was maybe 6 feet away, but we'd hit off the tee into a mattress. And, the gap for me then was the velocity work. How do I get more velocity work? So,
and I have kids that are slower in terms of processing visual information, right? Because for me, I look at the perceptual process, right? And realize that every brain is not created equal. Everyone's eyeballs are not created equal. And when you start talking about the velos that are happening in both baseball and softball, it's changing the game. The strikeouts are up in baseball, as we know. The amount of people in baseball that are actually hitting 300, I think in 2024, 7 or 8 people hit 300 out of the entire MLB. We're from an era
Crazy.
when you had Tony Gwynn, Don Mattingly, Wade Boggs, people who had high threes, fours, Willie McGee. Like hitting was the art of hitting for us back then.
Yep.
And I feel like the more we go into science, it's like, okay, we're right about what we think about movement, but hitting is so much more than movement because there's something that precedes the movement, and it's the visual process and the cognitive process that precedes the movement, which usually affects how we decide or what angle we're going to create. So being able to train the velo aspect of it and speed up the eyeballs, speed up the cognitive process, and connect those two processes to the actual movement process, which so many people want to focus on, right? And again, it's important, but it doesn't happen before we see it and before we process those speeds. And it solves the problem. It solves the problem that we're seeing. And even in softball, I do a lot of softball, as you probably know. I do probably about 85% softball and maybe 15% baseball on a busy baseball month, right? And 65 is the new 70 in softball. 65 miles an hour is the new 70. And there are people who are throwing 70. And people throwing changeups at 62, 63 from 43 feet away. So the visual challenge, the visual problem, the visual task complexity is alive and real. And for me, when I land on a product like this, it's like, okay, well, I have to be able to help my kids, and hey, you guys need to go buy one. Everybody should have one in the house. Everybody should have one at the house. You can even do it in the apartment. Like you need to have one. There's something about it. So
actually, one of the better videos we got was right when COVID hit. I was getting calls from MLB guys every day because depending on the MLB guy, they might have had some giant barn, some huge hitting facility. They're making millions.
Yep.
We had guys just getting called up. They're in their apartment. They're heading back to mom and dad's. But it was Jose Trevino who ended up winning Gold Glove with the Yankees. He had a minor league Gold Glove, but picked up our machine in 2020. Mm-hmm. But he sent me a rep in his tiny little apartment. He was in Texas at the time and sitting there just receiving balls, working on receiving, getting the reps. So, yeah, but I know myself, the last tournament I played in, it's been about 3 years since I've had it back, but I set one up long hotel room and put it on the counter right by the sink, right when you walked in the door. And then it was shooting across like the living room, couple beds. And I was just doing my the hand catch drills.
Yeah, just
hand catch. Yep.
And we used to do things like that with shortstops and training infielders where we would have like, okay. Before I even go into that, I was going to go into that, but something else was on my mind. So I used to, because I'm really into vision, like really into it. I've studied it. I've chased it for years, decades. And I've learned from different sports that are highly visual sports or activities, NASCAR drivers, people who fly planes, hockey goalies, soccer goalies. And I tried to combine different aspects of what I learned of how the visual process works in sports vision to create something that makes sense in the games of baseball and softball. And what I found is that, and just last night, I was working with a kid who's a really top prospect in softball. Her name is Ivy. She's very, very gifted and talented. And we were doing some decision-making drills with the MaxBP. And I put all the colored balls in the top of because I got two bags. I got one bag of all white balls, right? And then I got one bag of multicolored balls. Some are half colored, one color, two colors, one color, single color, solid color. And I wanted her to focus on what she should be hunting in terms of colors. And if you don't get that color, active take. And just to get her to understand how her thoughts had to be organized. How do we organize the thought, the intent, to connect to the actual movement process was really the key for her. So I was like my cue for her was everything that's not green, because there are a lot of different shades of green in the bucket. So a lot of balls had different shades of green, which is great. So I said, everything that's not green, we're taking. Everything that does have some green in it that comes at you, we're hitting that. We'll do swing and a miss. I don't care. This is about the decision. This is not about the outcome. And that was our workout. And it was a real challenge in that area for her, because I want my kids to be able to make better decisions at the plate. I feel like decision making is something that's really under taught, because it's really hard to teach it when you don't have an actual pitcher pitching from the set distance. But you can mimic it if you have a machine like MaxBP in a small area where I'm not setting up a machine. I got to put the balls in. I'm so far away from the batter. It's less intimate.
Yep.
You know, so there's so many things that, you know, as you start digging into. What are some of the things you're finding people?
So I think I mentioned earlier that I lean on my science guys for all the brain and science stuff, but I guess I'm curious, because it's the old where the conscious becomes unconscious. I always think of, say, like like I tried playing piano. Here's the key, here's a G, and here's a this and this. Mm-hmm. But then you see people playing the piano and they're just flying around. The guy is not consciously thinking G. Mm-hmm. He's thinking, you know, notes and music and flow, right? So same in hitting, it feels like we're taking the conscious to unconscious. So it'd be interesting, like the players that are training on the colors, at what point, if you're doing that drill over and over, they're not even thinking green or not green. It transcends to the unconscious. Because those are the same, I believe, if I understand the guys right, those are the same decisions that are being made with recognizing different spins, and location and release points and all that. So that's helping them earlier decide to pitch when you're building in these fractions of seconds to decide. Okay, so I would say, and as I've gone through this vision stuff all these years and listened to different people and different perspectives overseas and Europe and all over the world, people that are training vision, whether it's cricket or whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. I would say that the colors are important to me. Here's why. Because when we look at a softball, you have red seams on top of an optic yellow ball. And they're very close in contrast. Red and yellow are very close in contrast. So it's a little more difficult to pick up the red. But yet the red tells a story, because it tells you the spin. It tells you, you know, if it's a tighter spin, it's probably going to move more. If it's a looser spin, probably going to move differently. And hitters, like over time, just like the piano player who's working on their scales, it becomes sensory. It's not really a function of the brain, because the brain only gets information from the senses. So in hitting with a machine like this, it really becomes more sensory, but it should be. It should be developing the sensory part of hitting. Now, on the baseball side, red and yellow are more further apart in contrast. So it's a little easier to pick up the red. So I would rather it be red and white, reds and whites, and reds and yellows. Because that's the world that a hitter lives in terms of the visual world. I chose the green because it was closer to the softball. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in a perfect world, I would go reds and whites. I would go greens and reds.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's closer to the visual world of a hitter.
We'll have to get together. And so we have 23 ball color variations now. So solid colors, the splits. Yep. I'm always evolving and really pushing. Like, that's one thing you'll see about our product. If you pick up our machine every year, you might not see it. There might be hidden things, but we're always evolving. But I would love to. We'll chat after this and pick out some new colors or shades and so forth. So
I got a lot of ideas, and we should talk. Yeah. Definitely.
And I've been actually picky on the shade of the yellow for softball. I coached high school softball 2020 to 2022, 3 years.
Oh, seriously? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So I started really getting. I mean, I just fell in love with the whole fact that the ball's yellow and easier to see. Because I remember growing up, you know, when we were growing up, you get 2 balls for the game. By the end of the game, the ball's brown and it's dusk and you can't see. And so visually, I felt like it was easier to pick up without even understanding the science. But anyhow, since I threw in the music thing there, I'll share one other thing. Maybe you've heard this before, but I took this from one of my music instructor friends. he talked about in music, you don't practice until you get it right. You practice until you can't get it wrong. Have you heard that saying?
I have. I have a music background, by the way.
Oh, perfect.
I play drums and keyboard. And
Oh, right on.
my entire family is all music, sax, flute. If it make so, growing up, I had this. This is my house, and growing up, xylophone, tuba, harp,
Wow.
bongos, jazz, Charlie Parker, John Coltrane. Like so, music.
Oh,
is
amazing.
Like, I know I understand the synthesis and how the music, rhythm,
Yeah, cool.
tones,
Love it.
vibrations, all that kind of stuff is important.
Yeah.
Sensory is
Awesome.
it. Sensory is really it. Like rhythm and metronome. I'm doing something with the thing with metronome training now with kids with timing, and we're doing a lot of things with centered around music and centered around rhythm, and being able to be on time and in rhythm and on beat, and the
Love
balance
it.
of it all. So it's a lot of it's such a depth to it all. You know, it's a depth to it all. But you know, for you, like I'm so intrigued still on the business side of things. I know. So you had. So sometimes because in the beginning you were telling your story, you set out on a path only to stumble onto the actual path that you was actually supposed to be on, kind of in a way.
And I guess, well, yeah, because when we came up with the name MaxBP, we were thinking batting practice, and again, just like the bat in the hand and just hitting off this, which again, most people. But I always say, if all you're doing is just swinging a bat at this ball coming out of the MaxBP machine, you're missing 2/3 of the value. And I could go through endless examples, but my favorite recent one was Ian Happ, who just won his third Gold Glove with the Cubs. Okay. Talking to him in October, probably a week before he won his third Gold Glove. And he's like, Neil, I get more work that I want to do in fielding out of this than anything I can get at major league level. So here's a guy working on, pop-ups and fielding, going over his shoulder, coming in on a ball, all the various stuff that he's doing to perfect his craft. And he is so proud of his, fielding and Gold Gloves on top of him being a great hitter, leadoff for the Cubs. But, it just blew my mind. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, he's like batting practice. He goes, balls are flying all over the place. If I want to repeat something over and over and over and over again. But anyhow, so it was probably a year or two in where we realized the visual pieces of this. Again, talking to friends, I actually had 3 different friends. You probably know them from the visual world, Brian Harrison and Dr. Bill Harrison.
I do know them very well. Slow the game.
Yeah, so Dr. Bill, pioneer of vision in baseball in the early 70s with the Royals. And so 3 different people pointed me to them. I had a close friend who had worked with Dr. Bill in the, I want to say late 80s when he was, and others. And so they came up to us in San Diego. And so Ryan and Dr. Bill both really opened our eyes to just the next level of benefits that we just, again, there's people that have played their whole career and they were like, I wish I knew this vision stuff. I was just, we had a guy on our podcast in 2020. He's like, I just was a grip it and rip it type of guy. And he's like, now he's coaching and he's dive into all the aspects and how to be better, sleeping, eating, lifting, stretching, right? All these things and vision. And again, vision for a long time was completely neglected and now is still pretty far down on the chart in terms of importance, but it's the old close your eyes and tell me how good you can hit.
Yeah, I think visually, when you start looking at different hitters and how good they are, it's easy to say, well, look at this guy swing. This is why it's so good. But so many people underestimate or undervalue eyeballs. And some people just have better eyeballs.
Yeah.
And if you don't have better eyeballs, how can you train eyeballs to improve them in the process, not separately, not going on a computer and hitting keyboard, hitting buttons because something on the screen changed. Seeing this thing mimicking pitch trajectories, and you got something in your hands that has to have a response. Which I like the word response because it should be more responsive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the word reaction, but I like the word anticipation.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like if you react, that means something already happened, and then you reacted, right? So you're typically a little bit late, cognitively and visually. But if I'm anticipating, I'm going to where the ball's gonna be. I'm not reacting to where the ball is, because in the visual world, right? If you look at it, and just regards with like even with like the Dr. Garrison and those guys, I used to go down and work with LSU a lot, and I would go work with LSU on the vision side, but so would they. But they were doing something different in vision than I was doing. But we were both addressing vision. So teams like that understood the importance of vision, but they understood that there was different aspects of vision. And the aspect that more concerned me was the mechanics of vision, not necessarily visual strength, if you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
So the mechanics of vision would be, okay, I'm seeing the ball, and if I'm watching the actual ball, that's not information that I want to see as a performer. That's if I'm just watching the ball, I'm a fan. Here's the ball. Here's the ball. But as an athlete in visual performance, I need to see some of the ball and some of where the ball's going at the same time. I got to be in the present and I got to be in the future at the same time. Because the really bad hitters are in the present and they're in the past at the same time. They're where the ball was, which is why they're visually late, cognitively deficient. But the hitters that are visually more capable have a different approach. They're like, okay, where's it going to be? Based on past visual information. Because when is the present? It's always the present. We're always in the present, and it's gone. We're in the present, it's gone. I say a word, it's gone. So we always have to be like, what's next? What's next? Where's it going to be next? Where's it going to be? There it is, but where's it going to be? So I think that's, when we have a machine like MaxBP, I'm forcing my athletes to have to be where it's going to be. I'm rewiring how the eyes have to work from a sports performance perspective, because I'm forcing them to do it. And because you'll sit there, you'll keep missing it. Like you said, do it until you get it right. Or, you don't have it right until you don't, whatever you said was profound.
Yeah.
But like, until you
do it till you can't get it wrong.
Do it till you can't get it wrong. Because until you're unable to do it until you get it wrong, you're always visually wrong or visually late or visually deficient. And there's a gap in between what your visual ability is and what your visual needs are. So for me, that solves the problem, because you can get up there today on Monday, on like the kids that came in last night on Wednesday, they miss every ball. Next week they're not going to miss every ball. They're going to hit 50% of those balls. And the third week they come in, they're going to hit 3/4 of those balls. The fourth week they come in, they're going to hit them all.
Love it.
Because their eyes have to make a change. There has to.
Love it. I'm curious. We've always said one of the benefits of our machine, some of these really high-end machines, they say we're within 1/4 of an inch, like precision. And I've always felt like that precision, it can be a benefit. It's like getting reps off of a tee. On a tee, you know where that ball is. You can work on some mechanics and a few other things that you do off of a tee. But on replicating game situations and the decision making, I feel like it can create flaws, because if you're teaching a kid to swing at every single pitch, right? That's we teach yes, no, yes. That decision making, right? And so, but every single one. So I guess I was curious too on the machine side. What's your, and we've always felt like, again, our machines are about 70% strikes. That's what they have to test at to get out of our facility. But again, teaching that full zone. So it's the same as like I've taught. If you look, we have a couple articles on our website that talk about tee work. Yep. And so when I work with kids almost any age, I'll set up a tee and I put it in an odd spot, and instantly they move it to the middle, dead center, meatball. And I'm like, how often are you going to see that pitch? Okay. And are you going to be great at hitting that pitch? It seems like this is all you've done off a tee your whole life. And I talk about the game of Battleship and this huge grid of what they need to work on. And so, and again, I feel like, again, so that's a ball that's not moving. And now we've got a MaxBP ball that's moving and working on game situations.
So when you said yes, yes, no, it's funny because today's post that I posted in collaboration with MaxBP is about yes, yes, no. And so if anybody who's watching this podcast of the day that it was filmed is the same day that we're filming it on June 26th. Go back to my social media, June 26th, 3 p.m. Eastern. I posted a post of me talking about the yes, yes, no. To me, it's more dogmatic. It's a lot more dogma. But how should we go about teaching yes, yes, no? And I was with the athlete. I said to her, I said, listen, it should be yes to what? Because if it's just yes, yes, no, that's too random. And if the machine is only if it's too precise, that's not good either. Because we need hitters to be able to vary the movement. There has to be variability in our movement because there's variability in pitch. A pitcher probably never throws the exact same curveball twice in a row ever. I mean, not ever, but like within 1,000, 1,500 pitches. So a hitter's real ability is variability, adjustability, adaptability. That's the real ability and that's a real visual hitter. It's a visual sensory thing. So now I'm feeling, because the eyes are going to always lead the body. The eyeballs lead the body. Eyes always lead the body. And if my eyes see that pitch is a little different than it was on the first pitch, I make that what I call an in-flight adjustment. That's what the best are doing. The best are doing at a fraction of a second level. It's so to be short and to be concise and to be precise, right? It's really, really important. So, but with T-work, if I had a 3-year-old child, right, I would never want to put that child on a tee. I would go get a MaxBP, and I want that player to always hit something moving because I want eyeballs involved. I want brain involved. I want decision-making involved. I want tracking abilities to involve. I want focus to be involved. But if the ball is on a tee at an early age, you're shutting off tracking. You're shutting off pitch recognition. You're shutting off decision-making. You're shutting off understanding velo. You're shutting those things off, and then the game says, shut it back on, but you trained it to be shut off. Because the ball on the tee isn't coming from anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It doesn't have a speed. It doesn't have any of the things that the game has. So the best thing you can do for your kid, to be honest, really, to get something MaxBP, because they're not going to be afraid of it, because it's not going to hurt them. So you can override the whole fear thing of when you put a kid in the machine when they're 5, what do? They take that step back and away. They're afraid to get hit. But with MaxBP, they're not afraid of it. It's a little tiny wiffle ball. So you're not practicing being, okay, fear, is it coming at me? No, it's not. Okay, swing. And it's just so many things. We can go.
Okay, I got it. National campaign, eliminate T-ball, replace it with MaxBP ball.
Eliminate T-training and T-work if you can.
Yeah.
Because they need to see something moving.
No, I get it. It's interesting too, because like I use the tee to basically fix various defects. You get a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, and they've got major defects, whether it's stepping out and we break out a board. Okay, stand on the board. Let's get this stride back at least straight. Some various things that we need to correct, and let's do it off a tee and build up that, they say muscle memory. And so but then the kids are like, I'm 10, I don't play T-ball, da, da, da. And
I know.
It's the irony of the kind of the twist of, the how things shook out in their career.
I think the brain, and I'm sure your neuroscientist friends would agree. The brain is hardwired for safety. Keep the body safe.
Yep.
Am I in danger?
Yeah.
You can't override that with any type of training. Let me rephrase that. You can override that, but you got to be a certain level of crazy to do that. That's like Navy SEAL level stuff, right? Your kids aren't Navy SEALs. They're not Navy SEAls. But when a kid is doing the same thing that we do, the first fraction of a second, I'm like, is it coming at me? No, it's not. Bang. Except a younger kid, just is it coming at me? It's longer than a fraction of a second. It's like, is it coming at me? I'm pulling off. No, it's not. Swing. And then as we get older and more confident, we kind of dive in. Bang. Now we got elbow guards. Now we got all kinds of hitters are hitting with all kinds. Now we're diving in a little more, right? We got the face mask. You got the thing on the mask here. I'm diving in a little more. So it helps you to make that fraction of a second of fear a shorter amount of time. It's just a bigger amount of time with kids.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, it's funny. I hate to sound like how the game's changing and all this, but man, the amount of gear these guys wear. We were in Omaha at College World Series and we were at one of the booths and I'm trying on one of those oven mitt things. And I'm like, imagine if we brought an oven mitt onto our high school team, we would have gotten laughed off the field.
Laughed off the field.
Yeah. Oh my God. And some of the armor. I mean, I took a lot of balls off me back in the day. I was happy to get on base anyway, but it would have been nice to have some of that. But yeah. And then that whole, did you watch the College World Series? Some of these, like, they're reviewing calls where guys are diving into the pitch and overturning them and calling them out.
And my thing about that call is like, the hitter has to be entitled to the batter's box.
Yeah,
like if I'm in the batter's box, it's the batter's box.
Yeah, that was a ball.
If you throw me a ball, if you hit me and I'm in the box, it doesn't matter. I'm in the box.
Yeah,
I mean that's just how I feel.
That's why I was like, I need to go back and reread the rule because I thought like as long as if you purposely get hit, but if it's a ball, it's a ball. If you dive into the zone and get hit,
if I dive out of the batter's box. I understand that. I can get that. But yeah, you're right. You're right.
How's this strange? Anyway, sidetrack.
So I want to ask you this: how do you scale? Okay, scale is easy because you just get more machines into more people's hands. But how do you? Because you have there's the MaxBP. I'm gonna call it regular machine, but then there's a pro.
Yep, version. Original, the green one.
Original, and then there's a pro version of it. So you improved it. So what's next, or is there something next? What's the next level of improving that?
Yeah, so actually we're about 2 months away from releasing a version of the Pro that it has the same features, but a more intuitive button layout. So for example, and you're using the Pro right now?
So right now I'm using the original version.
Dream machine.
You guys are working on getting me a pro version because I
okay, cool.
Yeah.
So on the pro version, there's a feature called drop 3. So instead of the interval being 3 seconds for the fastest between pitches, it's 1 second. So there's some rapid fire ball drills that you can do with that. Mm-hmm. The switch for drop 1-3 is on the control panel side, far to the left. We have moved that just to the left of the light.
Okay.
So again, the light's there, drop 1-3, and then it's got a brightness or you can turn the light off on the Pro version. So again, more intuitive layout. And then on the Pro version, there are 3 types of curves. And that is if you're on one of the 2 curve options on the speed selection, the switch now is further down on the machine. Mm-hmm. And we've moved that up right next to. So like as you select one of the 2 curves, you get the 3 curve types. They're right next to each other. Okay. So again, curve on curve, more intuitive layout. Yeah. The Super Turbo, which was another speed up above, which for the younger guys is mainly used for fielding drills. It allows for higher pop-ups, faster grounders, catchers receiving, so forth. That one used to be a flip switch off and on. It's now part of the off-on turbo, Super Turbo dial for the center controls. So what we did there was just a more intuitive layout. And going back, rewind the clock, we used to have all these options. So we didn't have just 2 machines. You have a machine, and then what color bucket do you want it? Do you want the turbo? Do you want a 4-hour, 8-hour battery? Do you want, I'm trying to think what do you want the 3-way curve? So it created like 32 different machines, which, as you can imagine, was very difficult for us to, customize. And so we went to a more basic, okay, what are the main features in each group? Here's the original, here's the base model, takes care of everybody. Here's the Pro, has some more advanced features, allows for some more drills, and kept it simple like that.
Yeah, so I've been using, if I have a right-handed batter, I'll do left-handed curve, and that simulates the screwball perfectly.
Oh,
Because
nice.
in softball, the screwballs are really very prevalent, and it's a very effective pitch to lefties, going away from lefties.
Nice.
And people have movement like now. The pitchers are moving it like screwball that goes away from lefties and up, and it
Yep.
goes into righties and up. And
Nice.
it's pretty dirty. And that machine
Awesome.
has the dirtiest screwball ever. And it's good for the kids because I need them to understand as that ball starts coming in towards you on your hands as a hitter, how do you beat it? How do you beat it to the spot? What kind of a chest delay do you want to have to have some integrity on the outside pitch? But I still don't want to get beat inside either. So it helps me with the right-handed batters on screwball training as well, and what that path should look and feel like. So it's been great, these last few weeks that I've spent with it, and I'm glad that I was able to get my hands on one. I appreciate you guys finding me and everything like that, and making that happen, because I'm gonna definitely be, the guy that's gonna be using it, because I needed something like this that was short,
Love it.
smooth, and not so heavy. Put it in the trunk. I'm like, everything's in a bag. The plate, the bat, the machine, the backpack, everything's in one bag. I'm good. Let's go.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
how can I mean, I don't know. I'm sure like most CEOs, you don't really know who they are, but in companies like this. But it's not like you're like the Facebook CEO or anything like that. But it's like you're kind of behind the scenes mostly. Probably, I'm guessing. But if somebody wanted to reach out and find out more about MaxBP, how do we get them? How do we get them there? Social media.
Yeah. So,
website.
yeah, come visit the website, maxbp.com. There's a contact area. You reach out. We've got support crew working 7 days a week around the clock. And whether it's supporting your existing machine, they come with lifetime warranties. Most our products actually do. We don't warrant the batteries. We treat those like plants. You're either good at watering your plant or you're not. And you want to talk to a coach, you have a machine, you want to talk to one of our coaches about drills. Most our guys have had college or professional experience coaching and playing. And then, if you want to reach out to me directly, Neil, Neil at maxbp.com. Happy to, chat, answer any questions. You're thinking about getting into this space. I'm happy to tell some stories and, the good and the bad. So, but yeah, we're here to, we love our customers. Historically, we're less than 1% return rate, which everybody I talk to in retail says that's unheard of. They usually say, "What? Are you sure?" Like, yeah, we were 0.67% 2 years ago, 0.8, a little under 0.8 last year. So
that's great.
It's, we really, if somebody complains about our support, there are errors. Stuff falls through the cracks, but it's rare, and really but we're on everything, and we've got a ton of resources, and we've also been really smart about our growth so that we're not growing too fast, and we're able to support our customers and keep building the best products.
This is cool.
It's interesting. Here's another. Let me close with this.
Yes.
So when we've been through 3 balls over the 15 years, and so. We used the original. We had Wiffle out of Connecticut was making our original ball, amazing ball. And then as we were starting to do more volume, they didn't have the capacity to handle the golf size ball that we needed to deal with. We started working with another vendor temporarily right around COVID, and then we started developing our own ball. And when I started developing my own ball, the guy asked me, how many cycles do you want this to last? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, well, when do you want it to break? I'm like, never. I'm like, we want these things to last forever. And so
Right.
He's like, oh, Neil, but you'll make more money. And I was like, no. This is the best of the best. We want these to last forever. So again, like some people question, hey, these balls are more expensive. I go into a golf shop. Well, golfer hitting practice shots doesn't need precision of a ball throwing X miles an hour out of a machine. But so we're yeah. So anyhow, it's just a reflection of what we are endlessly working towards.
I have another comment since you mentioned that with the quality. And when I used to see before I got my hands on the machine, and I would see the commercials and the advertisements for it, in my brain, in my mind, I couldn't fathom how a machine that's that portable, it looks like it's pretty lightweight, and it is, could be such a sturdy, durable. It just really feels. It's sturdy. It doesn't feel cheap. But
Thank you.
When I looked at it, online, it looks like it's gonna break though. It can't be that good. It can't. In your head, you're downing it. But when I got my hands on it, I'm like, this thing is the real deal. This thing is. I underestimated it. I mean, the tripod. It comes with a really great tripod, high quality tripod that you would spend $400 on Amazon to get, right? And then it's shooting balls and it's holding its own. It's not moving. It's not tilting and all these things that most machines do. So on that note, to your point, the quality is very good.
Nice.
I can vouch for that.
I mean, that's the beauty of us constantly asking, how do we make this better? What can we improve? And, whether it's support tickets one of our objectives over the early years, go back 15 years, was how do we ship it and not have it damaged? And so how are we packing it? How is this? How is the plastic? And originally the plastic was more brittle. Like if you dropped it, it could crack the bucket. Or if it was colder, it was a lot more brittle. Or somebody tripped and they knocked the tripod over and it would break. And so we solved that maybe 8 or 9 years ago. I kept going to the guys. I'm like, I have a garbage can that's lasted the last 10 years and doesn't have a crack. It's like, what are we putting in this? And so anyway, we went through the testing. We did that. We made a couple of things thicker. And as they did the demo, the guy got me on a Zoom and he spiked like a football the bucket on cement twice. And he's like, Neil, is this good enough? I'm like, yeah, that'll work.
That's right. Spike it.
But yeah, because but it's our endless okay, hey, if this is, how can we improve this? And how can we improve the experience? And that's, again, one of the reasons we rolled out the lifetime warranty January 1st of 24, because we had just so much data and we knew how long these would last. We knew the cost of supporting the customers. I mean, there are electronic components in there that will fail. That's just we aren't putting, if we put the electronic components, they're the same to going in satellites and the space shuttle and all that. The machine would cost $100,000.
It costs too much, right?
Yeah. So these are consumer parts. So, but we have a process to fix and replace those and get people up and running. And again, those are, 1 in 1,000 type things. But we're here. So
that's great. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast. This has been good. And my podcast listeners are people who are really into the game. And they
awesome.
support when they come out, they support the products, and they ask me questions. I've already been getting a ton of questions on social media and stuff, so I'm looking forward to being able to do my part in this collaborative effort that we're taking on. So
amazing.
Anything else? I'll let you go.
I'm great, man. It's awesome connecting with you, and hopefully we'll go out and catch a game someday. And
yeah, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk soon. Thanks for coming on.
Take care. Bye.
All right, bye.